Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. Today, guys, I will be talking to you about leadership and the importance of knowing your strengths and how to work them for your favor, and then knowing your weaknesses and how to work them in your favor. If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Dr. Norma Reyes, and I'm a career and life coach. Thanks for joining me. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get started on this. And this is great even if you're not a leader. This is something that I work with my coaching clients on how to, first, it's really important that you know what your strengths and weaknesses are and how they've affected you all your life. And as a leader, it is even more important to work on yourself and developing yourself, and then taking that on how you can develop others. So the first thing that I want you guys to do, if you have not already, is check out 16personalities.com. That is one of my favoriteest personality test website thing, and I always recommend everyone go there. I really love how they've done explanations and everything, and it's free. They do have some programs you can purchase. This is not sponsored, but I just really love how they break everything down, and they have cute little insights for yourself. So for example, today it says, and I'm an executive personality type, it's ESTJ. And so it says executives are the most likely personality to say they have good fashion sense. I don't know. I mean, I have good fashion sense, but I don't know that I dress fashionably. I mean, I know when something might not look good, but it doesn't mean that I dress very fashionably. Anyway, so I want you guys to take a moment to go and write down what your strengths are based on the website, or if you feel like you are very confident in what your strengths are, just make a quick list of those. I will share what mine are according to this website. It's dedicated, strong-willed, direct and honest, loyal, patient, reliable, enjoying creating order, and excellent organizers. All right. So those are definitely strengths that I believe are within me, and so as a leader, these are like our defaults, right? So these are what makes us be able to work as a leader. And for myself, these skills are probably what highlighted me and helped me get where I am as a leader in my company. And so the ones that really stick out to me, that everyone has always been like, whoa, you're so direct, and it's obviously worked in my favor. And so it's always worked in my favor, but, sometimes being direct isn't always a good thing, so it's about that balance that, when to be direct and honest, and when it's time to take a step back and see that maybe it's not the most beneficial thing to do at the time, so each of these skills, you want to go and review them. Not skills, strengths. You want to go and review them and see okay, well, how has this helped me in the past, and how can I develop it further so that it can continue to help me, right? So dedicated, strong will, those are, to me, they're just the same thing, so I'm persistent, I achieve my goals. And so how can I develop that further for myself is maybe becoming more more, well, actually, when I have been doing this, it's kind of funny. So more routine, more planning. I've always done that, but never in a very detailed manner. Like I've always had like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But it's been about a couple of weeks now that I've actually sat down to do a routine with myself. And so that's how I'm developing on how to be dedicated, strong-willed, loyal, patient, reliable. You know, a lot of times like we get real busy and then like those habits, those good habits kind of go out the window sometimes. So let's see what else is on the list. Enjoying creating order. So I guess I'm working on one of my strengths by creating order. And then the last one here, it says excellent organizers. I would say part of the reason why I'm an excellent organizer is because I'm able to see big picture things. And then as a leader, it really, really helps to be able to see the bigger picture and not get caught up on the little tiny mundane things that matter, but can also stall the growth and development that you need. Okay, so the question for you guys is to write down your strengths and see how they've helped you in the past and maybe how they haven't helped you. You know, a lot of times we feel like, oh, these are great strengths. They're always good. And that's the thing. They're not always good. Strengths are not always good. So let's see, enjoying creating order, you know, sometimes things are chaotic and you just got to let go. And so that's where being flexible is super important. And, you know, sometimes you have to know when, you know, it's important to create order and when it's just time to act. And you got to be flexible with it. You got to be moving, especially if you're in a fast-paced work environment. You have to be able to be nimble and navigate these things. So you have to be able to use your strengths, but you also have to be able to let them go when the time comes. So now I'm going to review some of the weaknesses that it says here. Inflexible and stubborn. So, right, being flexible. Uncomfortable with unconventional situations. Judgmental. Too focused on social status. Difficult to relax. Difficulty expressing emotion. So these are listed as my weaknesses. And I have to say that I think since I've been working a lot on my own personal development, they aren't really weaknesses anymore. I mean, of course, it's a constant work, constantly working on these. So, I mean, I talked about being flexible. So that's a good thing. Uncomfortable with unconventional situations. Yeah, definitely can work on that. But, you know, when I was talking to one of my clients about this, is that, you know, you got to remember these weaknesses have helped you in some way. And so it's important to acknowledge that, you know, so take some time to write down your weaknesses and think on, okay, how have they helped me? Because these personality traits that we have, they're all there to help support us, and they come from a place of trying to protect you, right? So uncomfortable with unconventional situations can just be easily sorry guys, this is like bothering me. I didn't realize it was flipped out. Anyway, so yes, so remember, so uncomfortable with unconventional situations has probably helped me keep safe, right? But then it can put me at a place where I'm not willing to take risks or try new foods. And, you know, this life is all about exploring and being curious. So just being like, you know, so what I need to work on is being more open and trying new things and just going more with the flow, right? Okay, so those are some ways on how to kind of uncover and work on yourself as a leader, working those strengths, working those weaknesses, and just reviewing them consistently and showing, right? Okay, so then another way to work on these types of things is asking your peers, asking your staff, if you have staff under you, and asking your leadership. You want to continue to grow and develop yourself, because by developing yourself, then you can develop others and see them grow as well, especially if you want to be a leader. Maybe you're not in a leadership role, but if you are continuously working on yourself, others will notice that. Others will be drawn to that, and so then you can work on that as well. Yes, so working those and asking your leadership, your peers and coworkers, what are some strengths, and then what are some things you can work on. I mean, being honest about you wanting to grow and develop yourself shouldn't be something shameful. Shouldn't be something that you're like, oh, I don't want anybody to know that I'm not really good at this or that. It really just shows you as a person and your character, that you're willing to acknowledge that you still have a lot of growth and development to do. And as everybody, including myself, you should always be working on growing and developing yourself if you want to continue on in this journey. You don't want to become stagnant. You don't want to be stuck in traditional thinking where that once you arrived that you've somehow made it. Unless you want to stay exactly where you are and you're completely happy with that, and truly deep inside you happy. But if you're watching this, you probably are wanting to learn a little bit more and grow. Okay, so in following my own advice, right? Because if I'm telling you guys to do something, I'm also doing it as well. And I went out and reached out to some of my staff on, what they saw were some of my strengths. What am I really good at? Because sometimes when, you think about it, you're like, well, what am I really good at? And so I just wanted to share a little bit of what my staff said back to me, and which also was like, wow, like when you are so used to doing something, you just kind of take things for granted, kind of like my PhD. I don't really feel like it's anything special, but then, recently I've been reminded, there's very few Latinas with PhD. There's, I don't really know that many PhDs or Latinas with PhDs or people with PhDs. And for me, I've encountered so many. I surround myself with so many other women with PhDs, so many other people and professionals with PhDs that it just feels like the norm, but really, it really isn't. And so you got to take that too, see what are you taking for granted that you can be proud of in a humble way, because I'm not saying go and make people feel bad for something that you have, but, to boost yourself up, especially on those days that you're like, man, what I'm doing, does it matter what I'm doing? Am I making a difference in the world? Because we all want to make a difference in the world. I know that's why I'm doing this, because I want to empower others and remind others that it doesn't matter where you are in life, you can always become better, be better, and be more. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to share what my staff said. So my staff said, you're an expert at managing your team and personalities. You have a unique relationship and have the ability to know how to speak to different people. For example, in coaching, some people respond to yelling while others will shut down. You know what works for your people. Yep. And the next one is you have the ability to make people feel happy, especially during times of high stress and change. And I think one of the other ones that I like, your experience in leading your team is often changing dynamics and processes. You've been able to coach people to the max of their abilities and maintain the lowest turnover rate in the company, in our department. And so, those things, like, I am really actually very, very proud about, especially the low turnover rate, because so I am a licensed therapist and I work with other licensed therapists, and I am a manager over now 10 of them. And so, these are professionals. as well. And so managing professionals is a little bit harder in my thought process, and other people may not think it's harder, but you're working with more dynamic personalities, more dynamic and educated individuals who want to know more. It's not just like do this. And it doesn't matter if you are leading staff that aren't as educated, it still is important to give people a why and why you want to work for that company, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's for another video. This is about your strengths and weaknesses and how to work them, acknowledge them, reflect on them so that they can help you continue to grow and develop. And so one last thing to go over on this video is talking about, our strengths and weaknesses and why we would use some versus the other. A lot of times when we are in a place of fear, meaning unsure, feeling insecure, or just feeling like we don't know what to do, we will revert back to our weaknesses. So think of them as defense mechanisms as to why we might react that way, right? So if I am feeling like stuck, stubborn, and just like, no, like I'm just want to focus, like having this fist, like think of it that way. If whatever feeling you're feeling is making you do this, take some time to reflect on what the trigger is. Is it because you're afraid that someone may think you don't know what you're doing? Is it because you feel like someone has overstepped their boundaries or has offended you that way, which is totally okay if you feel those things. Just work on processing those feelings. These feelings you need to process in order to be able to grow from them. Process them and think about them, reflect, right? And then the next thing, the other thing, so when you're coming from a place of love, and care and feeling empowered, then, even when I'm saying it, empowered and love, you see my hands open. So obviously you're open to abundance, being open-minded. And so that's when you're using your strengths, right? Because you want to share and love and all these things, right? So that's just kind of to give you guys an idea on a different type of mindset, right? When you're on a more negative mindset, your mind kind of closes to being open to ideas, and versus when you're a more positive mindset or, loving and sharing type of mindset, then you just are like ready and open to all kinds of change. Well, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video will help you in your developing your strengths and your weaknesses. Leave me a comment below on anything else that you guys would love to hear about in regards to leadership. Have a great day.